Hello.
Hi.
Are we live?
I
Yeah,
don't
we
know.
are. I
Are
think
we
we are.
live?
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
live.
All right, there we go.
Hey, what
Hey.
do you think of my screen? Is it too busy?
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. I can see the grass. It's pretty. It's interesting. Yeah. I like it.
I thought for a fantasy theme.
It looks good. I like it a lot.
I don't. Yeah, it's a little animation. I could pause it if it gets irritating.
No, it's fine. You're fine. You're good.
Alrighty. Welcome everybody. This is our interim episodes of Crescito TV when we cancel or have interruptions in our role playing because of someone not able to. Um, we would just not have it a lot of times, and want to be consistent, so we're starting this. I've wanted to do this a bit. um it'll be a little talk show kind of thing with a friend of mine, or maybe someone that's not a friend, who knows, in the future. But this is a friend of mine, a fellow role player, Rudy, the Rudy
Hi.
Duck.
Hi.
And um this is called KRL Arts and Games. Crescito's Arts and will talk about all things artistic and all things gaming. This today's episode one is role play this, which is understandable. We're going to be talking about role playing stuff. Do you have anything to?
I'm a role player. I'm a professional role player because I do it for money. No, but I am a professional role player. I have years of D&D, um, mostly under your tutelage, Steve.
Yes, it's
And
been a while, hasn't it?
yeah, it's been a while, yeah. And I really want to sing that. And it's been a while. But yeah, I I loved playing characters beforehand. I loved doing voices, and this just gave me an outlet to do all of that silly stuff, which
Yes.
yeah led to me playing D&D and other role playing on Twitch and other websites, and
Yes.
it's I have a lot of fun with it. I think the dice hate me, but I have a lot of fun with it.
Well, that's
And not yeah,
awesome.
and not just like tabletop role play, but role playing just in general and stuff. And it's just a lot of fun.
Well, we've done a lot. You've been in three campaigns of mine now,
Hmm.
and we'll talk about that in a second. I was going to go through my notes I wrote earlier about kind of my personal journey through role playing games, tabletop role playing games here at the beginning, because that's where we met. Even so, we don't do it on tabletop, but we have a couple times. But um, we've pretty much been doing it on fantasy grounds, which I've discovered to be a very useful way of doing it. I'm sure it's not everybody's way, but
I like it. It holds my hand through a lot of things.
it does. So you can do more role playing and get a little
Exactly.
farther and be a little more accurate to the rules. So you don't have to fudge everything always. So you can think about other stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, so I'll start with, I don't know if I've told you this, of where I got my first Dungeon Dragon stuff and all that. I back in my sophomore year in high school, small Southern Illinois high school, I got on a biology trip to Florida, and I met this older a senior that was like kind of a waste, the wasty guys,
Hmm.
the smoke pit guys. So I wasn't really that close to him, but he liked the same music as I did, which is metal, and stuff like that. And so we did conversations there. And then all of a sudden he was graduating. He's like, "Here, have these," and he gave me the Dungeon Dragons monster manual, the player's handbook. I don't think the DM's guide, books, the Greyhawk box set, and the blue box, not the red box, not the basic set, but the expert set for the whole different rule set of Dungeon Dragons. But he gave me all that stuff and said, "Here," and like a couple of modules and stuff. And he said, "Here, you can have this. I'm graduating, and whatever you can have. It's like cool.
Very
So,
nice. That's a way to indoctrinate
yeah.
somebody
So
into the entire thing.
this is like 82, sorry, 1982 to 83. So somewhere in that year. So it must have been more 83, the end of that year, probably. So
That's yeah.
that summer, I read a lot of D&D.
I was
And
gonna
but
say yeah.
I didn't have a group growing up. Orthodox religion, it wasn't an easy thing to partition to people. Like, but I
Mm-hmm.
play a little one-offs I DM a little one-offs, but it was very confusing because I had this 8 advanced Dungeon Dragons and basic Dungeon Dragons and like parts of modules.
Yes, because I'm gonna say like 82 would have been like advanced D&D and maybe
Right.
basic set the second edition.
Yeah, it wasn't the first 70s basic set that was all in one. It was the one that was split up, red, blue,
Yeah. So like
different boxes.
it's got to be the second edition.
So, but it really intrigued me, opened up an imagination like nothing before, especially in a house that didn't have a TV.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have much to do other than think about games and stuff, read.
Hey,
And
that's a lot of fun.
we're in the middle of the national forest in southern Illinois, so there's really a lot of walking I could do in the woods. So
Yeah, I did that. I did a lot of that with the Star Wars books because I had the Star Wars books from very young before I could even know what like a role playing game was, and I think it was the TSR stuff,
okay.
and I still have some of them in the other room from this day from like when they released them right after the movies came out,
Okay.
and I remember going through them. I didn't understand it because I didn't have conceptually anybody to explain what a role playing game was. No one in my family did it,
Right.
and I was part of a generation that had visual aids in their video games and stuff. So it's like this is like a video game, but it's on the you have to roll dice. Maybe not. That's like Monopoly, right? No, I don't want to do that. So yeah, and then I wouldn't have anybody to play with anyways. I was an only child, so
Yeah. Well, my brother was 10 years older and wasn't living at home, so yeah, I was pretty much only child too then.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, the 80s was quiet. I didn't really get anybody to really play, maybe twice, 3 times. And it wasn't something they enjoyed too much, or they weren't around, so they couldn't really do it a second time.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's see, the 90s, I moved up here to Hinsdale, suburb of Chicago, if anybody wants to know.
Woo,
And
Chicago!
then I had a friend that I met, Mark, and he had played Dungeons and Dragons in the past. And so we're like, we would go to the store and we like, oh, this is all, we'd get all the gaming stuff was like, early 90s was massive stuff started appearing in all the gaming stores. And there was dedicated gaming stores, and you're like, oh, great, all the miniatures and all that. But we didn't have a lot of money, we were just small jobs, not much to do, not much income yet. And so, but we did get the rule sets, and we did get an adventure. The one that we all thought about and always talked about was Temple of the Elemental Evil. I don't know if you've ever heard Temple of Elemental Evil.
Ooh, I don't know. I would like to hear.
It's a super adventure that Gary Gygax himself created, but I think he handed off to someone else to finish. And it's a massive dungeon underneath a temple, like going into other dimensions in the bottom and stuff. And yes, it's just the epitome of what Dungeon Dragons felt like for us back then. And we would go on, and I ran him and another friend through at least maybe half a year of it. We went through it.
Ooh, okay.
So that was a big one start for my adventures. Then near the end of the 90s, I started running another one for 5 of my friends, and I'm actually picked up with one of them, my friend Dallas. Again, he's in my Sunday crew, and so we've picked up since the night we played in the '90s. Now we're back playing again, but now we're playing 5th edition. Back then we were playing 1st edition, so that's kind of a different feel for them. So yes, so 1st edition was pretty much into the '90s. Then the 2nd edition came across, and I also DM'd Dark Sun. I don't know if you've heard of Dark Sun.
I'm not familiar with Dark Sun.
Well, there was an explosion of campaign worlds after 2nd edition came out in the '90s. They would just put out Dragonlance. They put out Strahd. You know, the whole. There was a whole. There was a whole thing of that dark Ravenloft kind of thing, but it was.
I was going to say
world.
was well, if this was the '80s, then that was around.
Right.
Wasn't that like the Satanic Panic area?
This is the '90s now, so it was just
90s,
coming out of it. But yeah,
so like
2nd edition,
like Starjammer.
Yes, that's Starjammer came out at that time.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of stuff. That's not it. There was Ravenloft, Spelljammer, and then Dark Sun was a desert planet. Think Mad Max, with insect people, feral hobbits, evil elves. You know, it was just through everything in kind of disturbing ways. And magic was like banned, but you could do it still. Psionics was a big thing. There are city states that controlled areas, and they were all controlled by dragon kings, like mutated people that turned into dragons. Ooh. And then there was silt seas between the cities, and these silt seas, you had boats that would go on these seas of dust and sand and stuff. And it was an intriguing place, and they had these cool adventures, flip books that were small, small things, and they would flip, and you would see pictures, and it kind of teach you simply how to play the thing too, and how to DM, which was good for us because we were trying to get into it and understand the 2nd edition at that time.
Yeah.
Which was a little different.
Yeah, I was introduced to D&D by friends right when 4th edition came out.
Okay.
And they were like, "Oh no, it's going to be great. We're going to go to Gen Con. They have a new they're going to have a whole big event for it. It's going to be great. There's cards. You can get cards. We're going to pull cards off so you can easily have those." And like we get there and everybody was just people who were playing it are like, "I don't like this." I heard somebody say, "I don't like this," and left the table. And I was like, I'm sitting there with all these cards and I'm like, okay, I ripped up my cards now because they were like punch things and you had to rip them along the perforated edges.
Sure.
And I mean, I got it like pretty fast when I started playing that because I had already been playing Star Wars Saga Edition, which was 4th edition, but Star Wars, and with all that, with a lot of extra stuff taken out of it, 4th edition fit Star Wars better than I think it fit D&D. Yeah. At the time, I think it was a pretty good thing. Like, it had a lot of stuff going for it, but I can see why a lot of people were upset because of the major stuff that they tweaked from 3.5. And then when 5th came out, everyone was just like, okay, this I can deal with.
I agree. I'll talk a little more about 4th edition in a second here. You skipped ahead. You gave us a peek into the future. Well, you started at that time. Yes, I'm talking about now the noughts, the 2000s. So in 2000, the 3rd edition came about. I played RPGA. I don't know if you know what the RPGA is.
Oh, yep. I was a card-carrying member of the RPGA because of Star Wars.
Well, I joined. Greyhawk became the standard campaign there, which is one of the worlds, the one that Gary Gygax, the inventor of Dungeons & Dragons, created back in the 70s. and it became the standard again. So I was like, oh, these are people that I would think is who I want to play with. So I'm going to go to the local college here, and they have a a gaming thing going on. I'll try that. Joined up, paid a few bucks for dues or something, and went there. And couple of times I went there, it was always like groups coming in from other states wanting to, because you can only play certain adventures in certain states. So they would come in from a different state and try to play our adventures because they couldn't get to them otherwise. And it'd be like 5 of them, and you need 6 at a table. So I'd be the one person out, and it's like, yeah, it's not the most fun thing in the world.
They're just trying to get the stuff all.
Yeah. There was politics going on the table, and I was like, I just wanted to play a fun game, and I'm not into all this gaining of things, So yeah, wasn't my thing.
It was the same thing for the other side of that, because that was all like Wizards of the Coast had a big thing with pushing RPGA and the DCI, which is what I was big into DCI, and they would do that too, where they would be like, right, custom card here, custom special card for this. You got to go do that for to get this variant card, alternate art card, full art card. And I was just like, you'd have to go around everywhere in order to get everything. I have some cards. I have like 3 cards in my set right now that were for gurus or people who would help other people learn how to play the game. And you had to take like a 50-minute written test in order to do it. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it. I mean, whatever. I got the 3 cards, and each of them are worth like over $400 or $500 a piece right now. Still, but it's like it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, I get it. You're trying to create this scarcity by doing all this stuff, and I was like, I could only imagine what they were doing for RPGA, and I mean now they do like limited edition minifigures and stuff like that too.
Okay.
This event.
So in the 2000s, I joined up. I think it was like mid 2000s. I joined up with a gaming group out of a card game store in Westmont, and we actually started a board game group there too. But the role playing group was there before, and we played a pirates campaign. We were all evil. That's not the most fun in the world. After that, I was like, no evil people in my campaigns. Because a truly evil person, and this might be a discussion for another time. I don't know if you want to talk about alignments. It's a part of role-playing Dungeons & Dragons. I don't know if it's in everything else, really. Not really.
You know what? It really is. And the alignments, when it comes down to it, you have to make a choice for your character. And I find in D&D, a lot of people like to choose a character that's in the middle, so that they can be wishy-washy with it.
Well, that's what I tell people is I don't let evil people in my campaign, because if you're truly evil, you're selfish and you're not role playing it right if you're in a team, pretty much.
Exactly.
Only a lawful evil person might be in a team, but he's literally a lawyer and he wants to mess you over any chance he can, right?
Yeah, he's trying to convince everybody on the team. Like, if you're going to play an evil character that does stuff like that, you have to play it that people don't realize that you're the evil guy,
Right. But it'll end eventually.
Exactly. There's got to be a thing that ends the thing.
So most people have evil history. They might have a bad history, might have done something bad, but they're not consistently bad.
Right. Yeah. Like, you know what? This person is also doing good stuff because that's in line with what the story is going to be told. Right. And the same thing goes with GTA RP when I'm playing it on Grand Theft Auto. Our characters have our own alignments. Our characters choose to be, a crim or a civ, right, or a PD. And it's, if you stick with what you create for the character, then it becomes fun. It becomes you have a set of rules now for yourself. Whereas some people just have it like, oh, this is the playground, and I'm just going to go around. I'm going to shoot everybody because I want to shoot everybody. I'm just like, okay, you're just blatantly evil. First off, this is not fun. This is not fun. This cannot be fun for you. This is definitely not fun for everybody else. And I've seen that crossover into D&D before.
Well, I could see if you specifically make a campaign that is not an adventure and not heroes.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're making a Dungeon Dragons generic world or generic adventures, or in that world of close to that kind of style, it is heroes going up in adventure in strength as they get stronger to beat the bad guys. I mean, there's story, there's plot, there's all sorts of things that might twist that. You might have bad choices that the guards come after you for some reason.
You can
but
be
eventually,
bad. Yeah, you can be a bad character without being an evil character.
Right.
Like you can do the right thing for the wrong reason. You're saving the world because you're living in it and you have money and stuff like that, or you want to steal the hand of Vecna.
Right, but your friend needs some help. You have friends. You'll help your friend. An evil person does not have friends. Their concept of friendship is opposite of evil, because you're not selfish when you have a friend.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
So anybody who's I can't agree with that when they're saying, "Oh, but that's an evil character." No, it's neutral. It's most of the time when they're talking evil, it's a new type of a neutral character.
Yeah. Like I said, the other one, because I have a lot of GTA like parallels to that, and that's like there are evil characters, but they're evil in the sense that they'll be like, oh yes, I'm gonna do something evil, but they're not actually evil. Like they're just more like puffing their chest out. Like some of the characters I've met, I've hung out with a super villain who talks about doing villainous deeds and villainous stuff. And what were we doing? We were hanging out last. We were trying to find a really good present for his daughter.
There you go.
You could be a negatively aligned character and have fun with it. And it's the problem is you have to put a stop on that. And I mean, there's definitely like people that can do it and do it properly, but you can't trust all the players at the table to be like, oh yes, I'm going to do this properly. Then immediately like, no, I steal everything from everybody all the time.
Right. So real quick here to go through finish up the 2000s.
2000s D&D, yeah.
Yes. I did the Pirates campaign. It ended terribly because I ended up being lost on an island and no one would come and rescue me, being all evil. So that wasn't that fun. So then I started DMing a group with some of the younger crowd, the 20-somethings that weren't getting invited to the older guys' crowd table. So did an Age of Worms, which was a 3rd edition dungeon magazine.
Worms with a Y?
No, WORM, Worms, Age of Worms.
Ooh,
it was
okay.
the first, or I think it was the second adventure path that the Paizo team did before they spun off of the magazines. So I only did the first adventure in there, the Whispering Cairn. And then I started them on the starter campaign or adventure, the Sunless Citadel, which is redone recently in the Yawning Portal adventure for 5th edition. So I've run it twice. It's the only adventure I've ever run twice.
Wow.
And actually, it was fun playing it twice because there's a kobold called Meepo in there, and I remembered Meepo, and I was able to role play Meepo to the best degree there. So maybe I should run an adventure twice.
Hey, sometimes, right?
Yes. And then 2010s, the 10s. That is when true Dungeon Dragons got on my consistently. So I joined a group out of Matt and Mike and Josh and yes, we all played the campaign, and it was a Greyhawk campaign using 3rd edition and Pathfinder mix of rules. And I had 2 characters in there, and we played a good few years, and that's where I met you through, Matt, and and Josh is still playing with us and all that. So, and I started DMing my own campaign. I used Pathfinder rules. It was the campaign, the Emerald Spire. Yeah, the Emerald Spire campaign. It was a super dungeon, so I must love super
Ooh,
dungeons
yeah,
for some
super
reason.
dungeons. Yeah. I
But
mean, who doesn't love a super dungeon? It's just fun to say super dungeon.
this was a Kickstarter that came out, and you got the adventure and flip maps. So you had all the mats for like all the maps for your miniatures, and they even came some miniatures for it. So I played with miniatures, maps, and everything. And we got to the second to last level and then kind of broke up right there. So we almost finished that campaign. Got so close.
So close.
So close. But that lasted maybe a year or a year and a half. I don't know. It lasted quite a bit. I did like a little side adventure in there and everything. And yeah, that was Julie played for a while, so I got Julie started in that a bit. And so yes, that was a lot of fun. Then kind of got into doing Fantasy Grounds. I did a couple one-offs, Pathfinder and stuff, but then fifth edition came around, and the Lost Mines of Phandelver were there, and I was like, I wanna try this, and I got Josh and a few other people together, and then I think you joined up soon after we started, right?
Soon after, yeah, you were still, you're still in the mine.
Yes, you joined in the mine. I think the actual
Yes, I
mine,
did.
right?
Yes, I did. I was in a closet. I think it was a hobgoblin.
Yes, you're a cleric.
Oh my gosh,
cleric.
Davril.
Davril the greatest.
I played that character for so long. I still have. I have a. This is my cleric coat of arms. It's a wooden coaster that I had made for
awesome
for my desk, and it's always going to say cleric on it because that was my first.
We played that campaign. We went right into Princes of the Apocalypse.
Oh man, that was a lot of fun.
That was a super dungeon again. So you got to go through a dungeon.
It was multiple dungeons.
It was. And I took you on some side adventures too.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun though. It was there was a lot of stuff you could do in there.
I think that lasted over 2 years, didn't it?
Yeah, that did. And that was a constant play. I don't think we really stopped any time.
No. Tales of the Yawning Portal was the next one that I did with the second group I started, the Saturday evening group. And that's where I replayed the Sunless Citadel and a couple other adventures that it continued after that I had not played before. And then there was 3 or 4, there's 9 adventures in there. I think we went into the third one and we kind of ended up wanting to do something else. So that's when we started Out of the Abyss, and we've been playing that since then. And Larry joined up both of those adventures, his characters. So that's another one who joined into the groups. And meanwhile, over in Princes of the Apocalypse, Alex joined up.
That's right. Yeah, and she's been playing a never-ending stream of characters that all are somewhat related to each other for some reason. Either if by blood or by name.
And once at Tales of the Yawning Portal, which we had a nice 3D ending to with lava and inside a volcano and all dragon and everything. Acquisitions Incorporated adventure. We did the whole mini campaign of that.
That was fun. That was like a year, wasn't it?
Yep. And
that was
then,
a lot of fun.
As I said, my friend Dallas, we're doing a Sunday campaign. So I'm on 3 campaigns right now. So yes, the Dungeon Master here. We did the D&D Essentials had a book with dragons called a campaign called Dragon of Icespire Peak, and it's made for a smaller amount of people. So you can kind of ramp it down to not. There's only 3 of us in this one. So, but I think we're going to merge with the Saturday group, so I don't have as many adventures soon. And of course, we're playing Terror and Terrorfil, my own homebrew adventure at the moment, where your character, the turtle, resides.
Yeah, Terrapin, yeah.
And also, you can see my Art of Arcana book.
Woo, pretty.
So this has really got me reminiscing about old D&D elements and things like that. Recently, I read this all last year, and it's just like, the big part of my life is, and I've done almost the whole, I've been through this whole book as part of, except maybe right at the beginning, I wasn't in the 70s playing the first wood box stuff. I have a copy of it, but I don't have the actual chainmail, which is the first thing that was ever published.
Wow.
For Dungeons and Dragons. It's an actual war game rules. And then when Dungeons and Dragons came out, it said, "Oh, and use this if you want to use mass war game." So it's like going back to that book. It's like, so it is part of Dungeons and Dragons, but didn't have the name under it.
All right, yeah, no, that's interesting, because I know that there's a whole bunch of stuff surrounding all of the creating of that, and it was in, I think, up in Wisconsin,
Lake Geneva.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's called Gen Con Geneva.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they're going to be opening. Oh, they might. I don't know if they're going to still open it, but they said they're going to open up a D&D restaurant there.
There you go. You'll go to that?
Eventually. Yeah. Because it was supposed to be in Lake Geneva.
Oh, I did skip 4th edition.
You did skip 4th edition.
I bought 4th edition. I have 4th edition books. I DM'd once for my nephew, and we were like, this is not for us. I was like, this is not as... the problem with this, from reading, DM it and seeing it from other viewpoints, the problem with... am I frozen?
Just for a second. You're back now.
Oh, my screen minimized there for a second.
You're good now, yeah.
Oh, there we go. Okay, we're back. That was weird. Okay. Something was... McAfee was kicking in, wanting to speed up my app. Okay, no. Thanks for freezing me, McAfee. For freezing. Speeding my app, it kind of slowed me down for a second. So 4th edition, the problem with it is it was a very room structure. You would have a place, everything was a place. You were in this place, it might be 3 rooms or 2 rooms or a big room or even a part of a valley or something. But it was this area, it was a place. And you would have a war game stuck in that little place with miniatures. And then there's a story around it.
Okay.
The thing is, it wasn't connect. It was like that. It was like you didn't feel connected. You didn't feel like this was connected to that. It was like each one was these little individual things. There might be a map at the beginning that was like rudely done, showing how it was all connected and stuff, but it didn't feel like you went through organically through a place. It was, this chapter, or this, not chapter, but paragraph of text. But they always made it fill like 2 pages too. So they always, made any little area just fill out 2 pages. I think they had, they wanted to make sure you had a map on one page, the text on the next map. And it felt like they broke that all every once in a while, but it felt like that was the structure. It was very miniature oriented, which I don't mind, but the rules also made it that the characters were very structured also. It was very computer generated feeling. You felt like you only had these many choices. You really couldn't go out of there,
Yeah. I understand that part.
So that was my problem with 4th edition. It could be played. It wasn't a terrible game. It could be played, but you had to fight the rules to make it play the way you wanted it to.
Gotcha.
And new players wouldn't know that, so that was a problem.
Yeah, that was also a thing, is that it was marketed as something that you could bring your friends in and now,
Right.
This is easy for new players. We got them cards. You can fold and cut out these cards. It makes things easy. And I was like sitting down going like,
yeah, but what about the role-playing part? What's this mean? Yeah,
I got cards. I got card sleeves for all of them, as my friends told me, like, oh, you're going to do great. This is going to be so much fun. This is great. Wonderful. And I didn't have a lot of fun.
Okay, so that's my topic, my first topic. And did you want to go into yours?
Well, yeah. So I've spent a lot of time, as I was discussing earlier. The crux of my generation, being born in the '80s, was growing up on video games
Mm-hmm.
and having access to a lot of different video game systems and all that other stuff. And the number one thing that I spent a lot of time playing with over the years were Star Wars video games.
Sure.
Like, I even got to play some of the old ones on family's old Ataris. Like the 2600 had Jedi Arena, which
I've seen that one.
Jedi Arena on the Atari was basically, it was your all you are is a lightsaber that moves back and forth at the bottom and the top of the screen, one for each person, and you have like a life bar underneath it, and you're just trying to stop the training remote from shooting your life bar by hitting the lightning that's coming out of it with your lightsaber. Like that's
Okay.
all it really was. And
I'm gonna see if I can change my view. There we go. So is this it?
that second picture, yeah, that's, and the second and the fifth picture, look, yeah, that is it. That's basically it right there. You see how you have your like health bar underneath?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, you can see it. You can see it better on the top bar. It looks like a little web of things. The training thing would the remote would try to like cut through those pixels, and you're trying to stop it from cutting through those pixels is basically it. Because you're a Jedi. And
Right.
I don't know if you could tell that circle within a circle at the bottom of the square, like there's like a rectangle and then a circle and a circle. That's a Jedi.
That's the Jedi. Cool.
Yeah, that's a Jedi.
Kids these days don't know what it's like.
No, they
to
don't
play these games.
And I remember playing that when I was really little, and then
I played Pong. That was my first game.
What really hit it up for me was 19, I want to say 95 or 96. Because at the time I was reading a lot of Star Wars books because I was a big Star Wars kid, and they were like, "Oh yeah, the Shadows of the Empire. We're turning that into a video game on your new Nintendo 64." And I was like, "What?" And the commercial showed
What
you
was it
flying
again?
around.
What game?
Star Wars Shadows of the Empire.
Yes.
Based off of the book of the same name, following the character of Dash Rendar, which the book doesn't necessarily follow him. He's sort of an anti-hero in the book, but the book follows like Luke and all that stuff. But I had I loved Shadows of the Empire.
Nintendo 64.
Yes, it was on 64. Eventually, they brought it over on CD to the CD-ROM to the PC.
Just the book.
Yeah, and they have and
I remember. I remember this one.
Still available to this day on Steam.
Oh, it is.
Yes, you can still go out and you can still buy this game. It is a classic. They re-released it like a year or two, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, maybe. And I have a copy of the re-release that I actually won by showing off my Shadows of the Empire collection to the company that was making it was limited run games. So they said, well, we're going to re-release this game, but we're going to put it back on a Nintendo 64 cartridge, but it's going to be a purple cartridge to match the purple font of the everything. So I have a still sealed purple cartridge.
So Dash Rendar is the
Dash Rendar. Yes.
That name now. Remember that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I ever played it. I think my friend might have had it, but I don't know if
it was so good because I mean it was at the time the first time you were ever able to, in good 3D, play a Star Wars character. Dash was a pilot during the Battle of Hoth, so you get to be in a snowspeeder, literally driving circles around the AT-ATs and tripping them.
Yes, I saw that.
Oh,
It does kind of seem familiar. I might have played it. 'Cause
yeah, and
when I saw that, I remembered something like this before. Maybe I did play it.
it was they had everything from like IG-88 was in there, Boba Fett, Luke, Swoop, speeder bikes, everything you could think of, and it was is a lot of fun. And of course, they none of the things ever got Dash Rendar's ship, the Outrider, right. Not even the toys. I have the original Kenner, the actual full Outrider that they
Just the
made.
Outrider.
Yeah, the Outrider. The thing about the Outrider that was like really cool uh, is that it had a mirror finish. Yeah, that's the toy I had right there. I still have it.
Which
Yeah,
one? The one,
the one in the purple box at the top corner there.
oh, the purple box.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. All the stuff that was marketed through there. Yeah, but here's the thing. Dash's ship had a mirror finish. It was a YT 2400, and the coolest
No,
thing about it was you could barely see it when it was flying in space because all you would see was black on black.
no one has that actual, because that's hard one. That'd be hard to actually create into something to be seen. Then
Right, but then they turned around. They did it with the Naboo fighters.
True.
But at
Oh,
the time, yeah,
we'll
yeah.
talk about Boba Fett in a bit.
But Dash was one of my favorite characters of all time. Still is. I have multiples of that action figure of Dash Rendar, opened and sealed, because it's like Dash is so cool. They
Did
made him in
Dash
minis.
Rendar fit in this thing?
Yeah, the Dash Rendar figure would fit in the cockpit.
All right.
Yeah, it was neat, and you know, I don't see them ever bringing that character back. They are bringing a lot of characters back from Legends, but I just felt like this was a very specific book in the time of the 90s, and Dash just sort of fit that whole thing. And then they had him fighting Prince Zizor, and Boba Fett was in there, so he would you literally have to fight Boba Fett in one of the levels. And
That's
IG-88, which IG-88 was in the movie, so he's still technically canon, even though they're trying to push other IG models now.
all right. So you enjoy that video game. What was the next one you did after that?
Okay, so I skipped over some ones that were on the Super Nintendo, which were literally called Super Star Wars.
Okay, we won't go there.
No, we won't, because they were really terrible. And when I say they were really terrible, I mean they were absolutely awful. There's some of them that still can't be beat to this day without cheating.
Okay.
But within that little years amount of spent, there's like Dark Forces was out around 95 too.
Mm-hmm.
And Dark Forces 2 Jedi Knight came out in 97, which brought a lot of people attention to the character of Kyle Katarn.
Dark Forces 2?
Yeah, it's I think you can call it Star Wars Jedi Knight, which was, I think the full title was Star Wars Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2.
Yeah.
And it was great, because then you're like, oh wait, you could play as other Jedi characters that existed.
This looks like Doom time, maybe, right? When Doom came out.
This was like 95, so this was like right after that era, which was cool because you didn't see a lot of melee in.
Is that a rabbit in there?
Well, I think that rabbit is a
mod.
Well, so that's Max of Sam and Max.
I thought so.
Which was created originally by LucasArts. So you have a lot of LucasArts stuff. They used to hide Easter eggs like up the yin yang, because anytime they could put a Monkey Island Easter egg in anything, they would. They still do to this day.
Mm-hmm.
If the company was still as its full original self, but that gave way to what I still consider to be one of the best couple of, like, this is the best trilogy of Star Wars games, in my opinion. Started off with Dark Forces 2, and it was Jedi Knight, and then so this let me tell you about the numbering system of these games.
Okay, sure.
It was Star Wars Dark Forces,
Mhm.
then Star Wars Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2, then Star Wars Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast, completely deleting the Dark Forces part of it. And then Star Wars Jedi Knight Jedi Academy. So Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Knight, Jedi Knight 2, and Jedi Knight Jedi Academy were, if probably, some of my favorite games of all time.
Graphics definitely pick up a bit.
They do, and they even more so now, because Jedi Academy and Jedi Outcast were re-released and re-edited. They have HD remakes. They're not necessarily HD, but they have remakes of them, and they were released on Switch and PlayStation in 2020.
Not the Xbox?
No, I don't believe that they were released. No, they were released on the Xbox originally.
Oh, okay.
And I mean Xbox.
Right.
Like Xbox, the original.
I might get them. I get some cheap stuff on the Xbox.
Yeah.
Xbox 360, but the store.
Right. But this is also on when
me.
it's you can still buy this on Steam as well. Which is very good. Jedi Academy was like made for modding. So there's a lot of stuff you can go into it and change stuff around, add different model characters.
You know what engine it built off of?
I don't know.
Okay, that's fine. I'll look into it.
Because it was.
I don't know if it's another Doom engine or Unreal.
It was definitely a Doom engine because id made it. I just don't remember.
Well,
it was like Obsidian, LucasArts, and id.
Did Doom go into Unreal? I forget. Or is Unreal a separate?
Unreal and Doom, I believe, are separate. I know that the id. So this was the Quake engine.
Okay. Quake. Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
Quake. Quake was a fun game.
Yeah, id Tech 3 is the Quake 3 arena engine, is what they call it.
Okay.
And both Star Wars, apparently, because I have my Gurgle up. I'm doing the Gurgle search.
Yes.
Both Star Wars Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy and Star Trek Elite Forces 2 were all on the same engine.
They really got their money out of that engine.
They really did. But Star Wars, man, I had so much time. I learned to mod games in this. When I'm saying mod, I'm just talking about. I'm not talking like putting cheat codes in, because like LucasArts already did that. LucasArts put all the cheat codes they want in every game that they had, because they're like, they're gonna do it anyways. Let's just have them play. And this was like taking characters from other game models and other games and putting them in here and having them play, changing lightsabers out for like other weapons and cool guns, and it was just a lot of fun. But the crux of it was that
put out both in one box, Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy.
Yeah, on the Switch, because I believe
that's Switch. Yeah.
I believe THQ was responsible for it at the time. Because they bought the rights straight up from, I want to say Raven.
Here, look, Star Wars Jedi Knight Collection, Dark Forces, Jedi Knight, Dark Forces, Jedi Knight, Mystery of the Sith.
Yes, that was the third one that it was not great.
That's the dark child is the Sith child. It's like
it's there. It happened. It was an expansion.
What's this last one?
The Mysteries of the Sith was an expansion for Dark Forces 2. Yeah. And then Jedi Academy and
Jedi Outcast.
Jedi Outcast.
All righty. Yeah, I don't think I played into that series.
Yeah. Jedi Outcast should be above Jedi Academy on that list, because Jedi Academy was the last one.
Okay. But they're even confused. The companies must be even confused about
they bought them. Yeah, they bought them and didn't realize what they were, what they had,
Right.
and then they changed the names of everything. But that got me to 99
Okay.
when episode 1 came out, and everyone was like, "Wait a minute, this 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 is going to be a thing. Let's make games for it," and made one of the best Star Wars games of all time, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, which was just a Mario Kart, basically a game that was but it was you were in the pod racers, and it was good because it was really in depth. You could do a lot of customizing on your pod racing and your pods, and they just recently redid the whole game too as well.
For the Switch.
Yeah, they re-released it on Switch and PS4 and everything actually.
Okay.
But they went in and they cleaned it up and redid everything, and it plays exactly like I remember it. I can remember episode 1 Racer. It's got the black box with Watto on it, and tons of Watto things. They thought Watto was going to be a big character because he's in like all of the menus.
For me, the only racing game I ever really played tons and tons of Road Rash. I don't know if you ever played Road Rash.
I played Road Rash. Did not play tons and tons and tons of it, but yeah.
Road Rash 3 on a 3DO. I had a 3DO back in the day.
And then jump to me in high school in like 2003, and I got lost in all the Star Wars media and Star Wars games. Like 2 of the best Star Wars games of all time for me came out in 2003. One of them no one will ever get to play again because it's shut down.
What's that? Oh, the online one?
Yeah, Star Wars Galaxies and Empire Divided. One of the best Star Wars MMOs ever. Sony Online Entertainment decided to mess it up. It was doing very well. It was going great. They decided we're going to get more people to come in like World of Warcraft by going in and changing all of the fighting system. They changed everything. They called it the combat system update and ruined the game. And it was just a couple years after that they did that. Actually, it wasn't even a couple years. It was like 1 year after they did that, the whole game shut down.
Oh, really? I didn't realize it was that fast.
Mm-hmm. It was bad. Every character had the ability to become a Jedi in the beginning. They just had to be lucky enough to come across a specific set of things that were very, very specific to whatever character you were playing as. So you could like unlock the Force in such a rarity that a lot of other people could.
Are they still doing servers somewhere?
Somebody's doing modding of a servers right now, and somebody bought like a server from them, has the entire game. I still have my CDs too, because I could still join some of those servers, but you have to be able to download the game, and I have.
How big was the world of these games?
It was multiple planets. You could go to planet after planet, and the planets were these giant instances that could fit hundreds, if not thousands, of people inside of it.
Like, have you played World of Warcraft?
I have played World of Warcraft. I would say that
would there be each planet be a World of Warcraft size, or
each planet would be? Each planet was very, very big. Their maps would probably be about half of the World of Warcraft size, but there were like 8 planets you could go to, and then they went out of their way to actually create more planets as they went along and more content. And then they allowed you to choose to be a Jedi from the start with the combat thing. And that kind of ruined everything for a lot of people, including me. Cause I actually got a chance to talk with them. Cause I went to Gen Con one year, and I mentioned that they had a SOE booth, or Sony Online Entertainment. I said, "Oh yeah, I play Star Wars Galaxies." And like 6 people that were sitting down writing stuff all like jumped to their feet and came over to me. And
you're like, the one.
Oh, you're playing. You played. I'm like, oh yeah. I was doing this. I got this, and then they're like, oh yeah. We developed the game, but nobody's been talking about it. And then they were just tossing like because you still had to pay for like monthly fees, but they were tossing things out like, here's a card for 60 days, here's a card for 90 days, here's this, here's the expansion, here's all this other stuff, and we're having a special get together later after the show. We're all going to be at this place. We're free food, and I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, well, I wanted to play this other game that's here right now.
Yeah, and SOE just didn't really pan out. But that same year that Star Wars Galaxies came out, which was shown at.
Can I guess what it is?
Yes. You
Knights
can guess.
of the Old Republic?
Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
Yes. I played this. It's the only game I could think of at that time that would have been awesome.
It still holds up to the point where they are literally remaking it. They're remaking it right now for PC and PS5. There's a lot of questionable choices that they made for the development team and the writing team. But I'm going to hold off my reservations until after I get to actually sit down and play the game.
Okay.
But let's just say that there's a lot of controversy surrounding this new remake of the game, including one writer who has openly said that they hate Star Wars.
They're changing this? I mean, they're remaking it into a new story or something?
Nobody knows.
Okay.
They just showed a...
Well, isn't there supposed to be a new series coming out for Star Wars too?
Possibly, but this remake is actually going to be a literal remake of the original Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic game. And a lot of people are like...
Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake.
Because I know that that voice actress Jennifer Hale's going to be in it, who a lot of people might know from like Powerpuff Girls or Star Wars: The Clone Wars, or she's a voice actress who's been in it, but she plays like one of the main characters, Bastila, in it, so she's going to play her character again.
Okay.
And the question is whether or not there's going to be the same spoiler. I'm not going to do spoilers, but the same twists. Because honestly, that has been considered. It's still on the top of a lot of people's lists of the best twists of video game history.
Yes, and it deserves it. And Knights of the Old Republic 2 was also a good game.
Yeah, Knights of the KOTOR 2 is so good, and KOTOR 1 was just like.
And they used the same engine. I got the game. I never played it much. I just started there was one about Oriental Jade Dragon. Was it the Jade Dragon Adventure or something? Did you ever play that one? It used the same engine.
I don't know.
Came out right after, or right in between Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, I think. I forget the name of it, but they did use that style. The same team programmed another game, which was unique. I never really got into it too much.
Because I know that they used the same thing that was from like Neverwinter Nights too.
Sure,
that's the same engine. I know that, or Dungeon Siege, or Fallout. They use a lot of the same stuff. The Fallout obviously brought a lot of extra visual stuff onto it, but it's basically it's built on the same foundation as KOTOR.
So, do you have a lot more, or do we?
I got a little bit more, but those were the big ones.
Sure, I can understand that too.
Yeah, those
I've
were the
kind
big
of been jealous not playing Galaxy. That one did intrigue me, but it's one of those things you had to pay monthly, and I just didn't have that money at that time.
That same year, Mountain Dew Livewire came out, so I would come home from school on Friday with a 2-liter of Mountain Dew Livewire. Didn't know that at the time that it was more caffeine than coffee. Would sit down, drink with it, go to sleep Sunday morning. Like I'd come home on Friday, go to sleep Sunday morning.
Probably not the best for your health either.
No, it definitely wasn't. But I was part of a guild, and we had a we had a Ventro server we could talk.
I never joined a guild because it needs you need to be dedicated. You have to show up or you're really not doing it, right?
Yeah, no, we had a guild hall and everything, and everyone's doing. I was playing a character that a lot of other people weren't, because I was one of the first Wookiees on the entire game to just sit down and play as a character who played a Wookiee all the way through. And because I had the game before the launch. Like, I made sure to buy the collector's edition giant set, and I had it before I could even log onto the server.
There you go.
And I remember I was playing it on my old Sony Vaio, and it was a lot of fun. And I was also playing a creature handler, so I could tame wild creatures and then sell them to people as pets. And of course, I'm walking around with a crate dragon for myself. But the other ones that were of note, I'll quickly go through them, were Star Wars Battlefront, also came out around that time, which was basically like Battlefield.
My nephew had that, and I watched him play it. It was kind of fun watching it.
Yeah, the early 2000 ones were so great and so fun, and then then EA bought it and decided they wanted to remake it into a microtransaction hell and ruined the whole thing. I bought it and I sat down and played it the first day it came out. I was like, yeah, and then I never touched it again because I was like, this is awful. This is absolutely terrible. There's no story mode. They didn't have a story.
Oh, that's sad. I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when Battlefront 2 came out, the EA's version, one of their selling points was, we have a story mode now. And I'm like, if you have to put that on the box, then I don't want to play your game. I don't care if it's the best game ever. I got burnt really bad on that first one, so I was like, no.
Yes.
And
what
then
else?
They did. They decided to do a Legends character of Galen or Starkiller in the Force Unleashed, where you would play a character who was doing Force powers, but like at a super high level.
Yeah, what's the name of that one?
The Force Unleashed.
Yeah, the Force Unleashed.
Yeah, which actually is going to be coming out this year on the Switch finally.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think they're packaging I think it's only just the one, because I believe that the company who owns the Force Unleashed does not own the Force Unleashed 2 as well.
Question about that. That one always intrigued me, but it felt like, I don't know, it might be like a shooter more than a
No.
It
Was neither. It was action adventure. You didn't use a gun at all.
Right. Well, I don't mean shooter, but like you know what I'm talking about, like a 3D world.
It would be more about
story, really.
Oh no, there was plenty of story,
okay.
and they went out of their way to the guy who actually currently does the voice of Darth Maul and everything is the main character inside of this. I
guess they canceled Force Unleashed 3.
They did. Yeah, they did. It's because they had actual actors, and they had actual actors with mocap, and they made sure that everything was done. The whole thing about this game was that it was all physics based. Everything would happen. You can hit a wall with a force power, and it would get dented in a specific way with specific physics. You could pick a stormtrooper up using a force choke and throw them, and they would ragdoll as though they would in real life. And like, that was their whole big thing. And of course, the fun stuff is to take a stormtrooper, throw them out of a window on a starship, and watch as the blast window comes down, but their body starts floating outside of the window.
I remember the tech talk when it came out, the video game technology coming out.
Oh yeah, no.
And I remember the preview with that ship crashing in front of them and stuff. That was an awesome preview video they showed. Probably at the big convention, right?
Yeah, they did. It was at Star Wars Celebration 3, I want to say, because the game came out in 2008. Yeah, but it was so good, the way that you can go through the character, go through the levels, find all the hidden power-ups and stuff to change your lightsaber's color, to change what powers your lightsaber would have, leveling up. There were a lot of RPG elements to level up your force powers. And there was a lot of fun in it, because it was specifically about physics and voice acting. That was, and the actual acting inside of it, which was because this Galen Merrick it was the main character, who went by the name of Starkiller, which was originally Luke's name. that was in the
before
first, before
the
they made
edits.
yeah, exactly. And yeah, it was so Sam Witwer played him. Sam Witwer was,
Sure.
like I said, he's been playing Darth Maul. He played Darth Maul in the Clone Wars, in Rebels, he did the voice for Darth Maul in Solo.
I think his name's on this book, actually, isn't it? Yep, Sam Witwer.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a big part of a lot of things.
Yes.
And yeah, he's directed, he's written, he does artwork, he does role-playing games. He was a part of the Order 66 podcast that did stuff for the Star Wars role-playing game and the Fantasy Flight role-playing games, and of course he was on Geek and Sundry, he was on Tabletop.
Yes, I remember Tabletop.
Where I think he was playing the Dragon Age game when they did that with the red dice, because they had a Dragon Age RPG. I still have that one too. But yeah,
I didn't get that one, yeah, but I know it.
He's still in Star Wars to this day. And
so what's next after the Unleashed?
So Force Unleashed was huge. It was a big I could still sit down and play for it, play it for a while, but there wasn't really a lot of anything. Like they did wasn't a lot of things until they did so that's it. There were like kids games. Force Commander, Bombad Racing, the Republic Commando was a huge one that a lot of people liked, but it was very contingent on you liking the Clone Wars stuff,
Okay.
If you didn't really care for the Clone Wars like first person Halo shooting type thing, you weren't going to like the game.
Sure.
But jump ahead to the 2010s. We could jump to Fallen Order, which was huge. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order has become a huge part of Disney now owning Star Wars, and they have the character Cal, was it Kestis? I forget it. Cal Kestis, yeah. And yeah, and yeah, there he is. And he's just been, people have loved him in media so much. People have loved him. He has a lot of people who are just like, oh my gosh, I love this character so much. So much so that when Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, the park, Disney park, put out, yeah, I've been to there. I have definitely. They put out a big giant a poll to see, we're going to make one of these, and they had like a list of like 7 or 8 different characters. We're going to make their lightsaber next. Which one of these do you want? And he won by a landslide.
Okay.
Yeah, like a landslide. And I voted for Ursa Bridger. That's another character. But we'll see. People like him a lot. But yes, this was, Jedi Fallen Order was definitely a huge success for them, because
what did you play it on?
On PC. I have it on Steam. I also have it on Xbox, because it's part of the Game Pass. If you have Xbox Game Pass.
Okay.
But it's basically it's on everything. You can get it on PS4, PS5, Xbox Series X.
Is it a good one for new players, or is?
Yes, yeah. So you're playing a Jedi who's, this is after like Order 66. He's one of the younglings that kind of got away.
Okay.
And now he's a little older, and he's just sort of trying to make his way in the world, and somebody accidentally finds out that he's a Jedi when there's an accident where he's working, and he's able to save somebody, and they're like, oh, he's a Jedi, and Jedi are bad. But it plays kind of like the Dark Souls franchise games, but with a lightsaber.
So I was wanting to keep this to about an hour.
Yeah.
So we can wrap up the last couple of games.
Oh yeah, no. I just have a couple. I think a couple more, and we're good to go.
All right.
Because I think the last games that were big were Lego Star Wars is still to this day
I have that.
it's so fun, and the new one comes out very soon.
Of course, they show the actual Legos.
Yeah, the
But
next like within the next I think the next month or so, it's
do you
coming
have a
out.
favorite one of those?
The Lego Star Wars?
Yeah, there's so many different.
I just like the ones that have all the characters inside of them. I like the complete collection. I have that one on Steam. And I like all the Lego games, honestly. I'll play the DC, the Marvel, all the ones.
Sure.
They're just fun. It's one of those where you could sit down and play. You don't need to think about anything, really. You turn your brain off for a half hour, sit down and play the game. But the other one, and this is the last one I'll talk about, is Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge, which is on my Oculus and puts you straight into the real world of the...
Is it only VR?
Yes, it's an Oculus game. It's only on Oculus. And it's... you get to go into the world of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge as though it's a real living world rather than just going to the Disney World and seeing it. And
how big is it?
So this one is Tales of Galaxy's Edge is actually a couple of games, and they allow you to walk through basically the entirety of the park. But it's a living, breathing world, and you can go inside of things, inside of places. Talk to
this
characters.
Is what you look like when you're playing, right?
I have to go back to your screen. Yes, that's what you look like, exactly. And
I would be puking because I get motion sickness. So
and then you see that like 6-eyeballed alien. That's Bobby Moynihan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and the bottom picture there that you were looking at there. There's a lot of characters. They added the characters that they put in the lore for the actual place, but that's about it. Those have been my Star Wars games that I enjoy playing.
And there's been a lot of them, and they've been pretty good titles too. I have only touched a few of them, being so many games and so few time.
Oh, absolutely.
But yes, I like Knights of the Old Republic. That was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. And then Star Wars. Star Wars Eclipse is going to be coming out soon too, as well.
Did you ever play the TIE Fighter games?
I did play the TIE Fighter games. I didn't talk about X-Wing or TIE Fighter.
Right.
I did play those. And I was trying to go through like the character-based games rather than the ship-based games, because then I would go into like X-Wing Alliance, Star Wars, X-Wing, Defend the Empire, Rebel Assault, stuff like that. Rogue Squadron.
There's no reason to say they never left a stone unturned with the video game, did they?
Nope, not at all.
Was it LucasArts that did the games? Or?
LucasArts did everything up until about, I want to say, until EA took over Battlefront.
Okay. We're back to two screens.
Yeah, there we go.
No, not yet on the thing. Okay. We're a little delayed on my version. So this was enjoyable. I enjoyed this discussion. It looks like I was thinking 4 topics, but I think 2 are good enough for an hour.
Well, at least if you have me talking.
No, it's okay. I talked quite a bit too on mine. I hadn't shared the screen. I didn't have all my images up for those games. I was more into talk. It's good to do it when someone else is talking because I can like search and stuff. I don't know if that was helpful or not, but it was.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. Yeah.
And so maybe next week we'll be going back to the game. Maybe not. Maybe we'll have Rudy back on. Maybe not. Maybe it'll be someone else with some other topic.
Ooh.
Always guessing here on Crescido TV. Well, did you enjoy this?
I had a lot of fun.
Cool. I hope someone will watch. I don't think anyone watched really while we were doing it, but that's okay. I'll be putting this up on YouTube, and maybe someone will watch it. If not, at least we have a memory.
Absolutely.
And Everybody, have a great evening, and we'll talk to you later.